Hi, I'm Alison from Hot Yoga Edinburgh, and I know that some of you are possibly now either self-isolating at home or you are just planning to spend a bit more time at home at the moment, and you might be going stir crazy from spending so much time at home, and you might be missing your regular yoga practice. So I'm going to bring just a very short home practice here for you that you could follow along with me, or you can watch it on replay later. But it's on all levels, quite a gentle practice just to allow you to stretch your body, move a little bit, and hopefully feel a little bit better. So what you'll need for this practice are your yoga mat, perhaps a couple of blocks. Or if you don't have blocks at home, you could use books or cans or bottles or anything that might just help you to find a little bit of extra length in your arms. So find something that might work at home. And then I've got a small towel as well that I'm going to just place down on my bolster or on my mat just to protect my skin and keep myself protected. And I could also use that as a strap if I wanted to during the practice. So find your way onto your mat. And just take a few moments here to just settle into your mat. So you can start on hands and knees, your hands about under your shoulders and your knees about under your hips. And we'll do a few rounds of cat-cow stretches here. So with your exhale, tuck your tailbone under, tuck your chin towards your chest, rounding the back. And with your inhale, lift the tailbone, lift the chin. Keep a small bend in the elbows. Just keep the elbows soft. And then we'll repeat that for maybe a couple more rounds. And you can add 1 or 2 extra rounds if that feels good for you today. We're trying to bring some movement into the spine here. And then coming back to the center, with your inhale, reach your right leg straight back behind you. And you've got the option to reach the left arm forwards. Keep drawing in through the lower belly so you're supporting the back. Take another deep breath in and exhale to lower back down. And then from your inhale, reach the left leg back behind you. Option to reach the right arm forwards. Take another 2 breaths and exhale back down. And then when you get back down onto your mat, into your tabletop pose, you could do a couple more arches and rounds of the spine. And then coming back to the center, tuck your toes under, maybe walk your hands a little further away. And with your exhale, lift the hips up and back into downward facing dog. And when you get there, you might feel like pedaling the legs. So slowly bend one knee and then the other knee. You could bend both knees and then gently begin to straighten them again. Inhale, reach your right leg up behind you. And exhale to step that right foot behind your right wrist. Lower the left knee down, release the toes. If that feels painful for the knee, you could bring something soft under the knee there. Inhale, reach up through the upper body and reach up through the arms. Just make sure that that right knee stays stacked on top of the ankle. And with your exhale, bend your elbows and reach your elbows out to opposite sides of the room. With your inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale to bring your fingertips down, maybe onto the mat, or you could reach for your blocks or your books and begin to straighten the right leg. Send your weight backwards, beginning to straighten this leg. If this front leg, if the hamstrings feel quite tight, you might bend and straighten a few times. And you could decide that maybe it would be helpful to have a bit more length in the arms. So you could adjust the height of the support under the arms if that feels like a good idea today. And then from here, bend into the right knee. Walk your hands forwards again. Plant your left hand down on the mat And inhale to lift the right arm up. And you've got the option to stay here or tuck the back toes under and straighten the back leg. And then exhale, lower that right palm back down onto the mat and step the right leg back. And just breathe there again in downward dog. And then inhale, reach the left leg up behind you. Exhale and step that left foot forward. Lower the right knee down. Again, add some padding under the knee if needed. Make sure the left knee is on top of the ankle. Inhale the torso up. Reach up through the arms. Exhale, bend the elbows. Keep drawing in through the lower belly so you're supporting your back in this pose. And then inhale. Reach the arms up. And exhale to bring your fingertips down, either onto the mat or again reach for your blocks. Taking the weight backwards, begin to straighten that front leg, maybe bend and straighten a few times. Bring the toes towards your face, so flex the foot. Breathe here. With your inhales, lengthen the front side of the chest. And with your exhale, fold a little deeper. And then with your inhale, bend into that front knee, walk your hands forward, plant your right hand down on the mat, inhale the left arm up. Option to stay right here or tuck the back toes under and straighten the back leg. And then exhale to bring that left palm back down onto the mat and step the left leg back. Downward dog. And from here, bring your knees down onto the mat. Walk your hands a little further forwards and sink the chest towards the mat. Big stretch across the shoulders, the chest, the arms. And then from here, walk the hands backwards, sink the hips down, child's pose. And you could stay in your child's pose for several minutes if that feels good for you. You could bring some support maybe under the chest if that would feel better. So I'm going to use a bolster here, but if you don't have a bolster at home, you could use a pillow or a couple of pillows or cushions. And then just bring that bolster in. I'm going to use a towel over the top just to protect, just to keep myself nice and safe, nice and clean. But you could bring the bolster in and then lower the chest down onto the bolster. So it's a little bit more restorative child's pose, a supported child's pose. You could turn one cheek down onto the bolster or the other cheek. And maybe swap sides after a minute or two. And this is quite a nice stretch for around the lower back, the hips, maybe the glutes. You might feel it across the front of the ankles. It's also quite a nice comforting pose. If you're feeling stressed or a bit anxious, this is quite a nice resting, comforting pose. So you can choose to stay there a bit longer. And then when you're ready, pushing yourself back up to sitting. And removing the bolster for now, and we'll do a gentle twist from here. So coming down onto your back. Hug the knees in over the chest, and you might just rock from side to side a few times. And then when you're ready, allow the knees to fall down onto one side. And you might support your knees with your hand, or you can open your arms wide. And stay here for perhaps 3 minutes if that feels okay for you. Or maybe just 10 breaths. Maybe 10 breaths would be a really nice amount of time to stay. And then from here, with your inhale, lifting the knees back to the center. Maybe stop here again for a few breaths, and then allow the legs to go down to the second side. And then coming back to the center after your 10 breaths or your 3 minutes. Find your way up to sitting from here. And I'll give you a suggestion of a nice back bend for the spine and a nice opener across the chest and the shoulders. So again, bringing your bolster or your pillows or cushions behind you, long ways behind you. And then you might have an extra rolled up blanket or your book or a block, just in case you need it. And then bring the bolster in so that there's a small space between your hips and the end of your pillows or your bolster, and allow your back to roll down along the bolster. And then for me, it feels more comfortable to bring some support under the head. But for some people, it might feel good just to bring the head all the way down. And then from here, you could allow the arms to open out to the sides, or you can bring the arms, maybe give yourself a hug. Bring the arms closer to the body. Your legs could stay bent. You could open the knees out to the sides. Or you could even maybe straighten the legs or cross the ankles. So whatever feels good for you. And then stay here for perhaps 3 minutes if that feels okay for you, or a bit less time if 3 minutes feels too long. If you're really enjoying the pose, then stay there a bit longer again, maybe even 5 or 6 or 7 minutes in that pose. And then when you're finished your back bend, just removing the props, find a careful way to come off of the bolster or your pillows, and just push the bolster away and come all the way down onto your back. For your resting pose, your Shavasana. For many of us, we might say this is the best part of the practice. And finding yourself in a resting pose. Your knees could be bent, or your legs could be straight, or you could bring some support underneath the legs. You could bring some support under your head. And then just spending as long a time as you've got available in your resting pose, in your Shavasana. So I really hope that might be useful for some of you. We are aware that a lot of people are not able right now to get to the studio, and while we are still running classes here at the studio and we're hoping to stay open as long as we can, we do understand that for some of you, you're not able to get here. So we're taking that into consideration. We're constantly reviewing what's happening. So watch this space, and we'll try and post another short practice again sometime soon. But hope you have a lovely rest of your day, a lovely weekend. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.